If you had any remaining faith that Democrats and Republicans could join together to solve the very real problems facing America, I want you to consider the results of this poll. Many Americans, Republicans, believe that Obama wants to invade Texas. Let's bring up the poll results here. Coming from public policy polling, I understand there are a lot of numbers there. For now, just focus on the ones on the left-hand side under base. 32% of Republicans respond that the government is trying to take over Texas.
32%.
That's 1 in 3 think it's trying to take over Texas. Now, I think you need to add to that the 28% who say they're not sure. That is 60% either think he is trying to take over Texas or they think he might be trying to take over Texas.
Sounds plausible that our military, which we salute nonstop at every football game and all the time, and every chance we can give them lip service.
Yes.
But then, you know what? They also might be traitors.
They might be traitors who are willing to take over. They're not trying to. It's a military exercise.
Yeah.
It's called Jade Helm. Look, yes, it's a scary sounding name. I will give you that. But they're not literally trying to take over parts of America. Really fast.
We already took over Texas.
We did, actually.
I don't know if you understand.
I think that's what the fear is. It's that, oh God, in the back of our mind, this has happened before. Bring that poll back up, actually, for just a second. I want to take a look at another number there. So you're seeing there the overall numbers on the left, and then broken down by who they support in the Republican primary. Those who support Rick Perry, 76% think that the government is trying to take over Texas, and an additional 7% aren't sure. Over 80% of those who are going to vote for Rick Perry think that they're trying to invade a state in the United States. That is amazing to me. But perhaps more amazing is when you get more specific. Here, we're not just talking about Republicans, we're talking about Tea Partiers. Go to this next graphic. It's a larger number. Tea Partiers, 75% either think the government is trying to take over America or they're not sure. Fully 50% say yes. They're going to invade Texas. Obama is going to be riding on a tank.
You know, when this doesn't happen, I'm sure those Tea Partiers are all going to feel silly.
I'm sure they will remember this when it doesn't actually happen.
Just like they felt silly when Barack released his long-form birth certificate. Remember how silly they felt then?
They felt so silly that they've continued to assert that he is born in Kenya.
Remember when it turned out how embarrassed they were when it turned out the Iraq War was a big lie for oil?
There was pie on their face in that case. They're so red-cheeked to this day.
Red-cheeked?
Yeah, you're allowed to believe whatever ridiculous thing, and you're allowed to say whatever ridiculous thing, but when it turns out not to be true, you don't get called on it.
Yeah, ever.
Now, we're on the internet. Feel free to show us a clip where we said something absolutely crazy. I don't remember saying that George W. Bush was going to invade any of the United States.
No, I don't.
But then I wasn't on the air then. Maybe I was saying crazy stuff in my private life.
So Jeb Bush now is getting foreign policy advice from George W. Bush, but only after Jeb promises to tell him about the rabbits.
Exactly. That's one of my favorite references that you make. You and your buddy Conniff making those great literary references there. Now, at the same time that too many Republicans and too many Tea Partiers believe that this is going on, one of the reasons they believe it is their elected officials, those who they, I think, foolishly support, are continually coming up with crazy quotes where they continue to push this out into the media. So Louis Gohmert, one of our favorite politicians here, says, "Once I observed the map depicting hostile, permissive, and uncertain states and locations," referring to some of the maps that are being used in this military exercise, "I was rather appalled that the hostile areas amazingly have a Republican majority and believe in the sanctity of the United States Constitution." We can agree to disagree on how much they actually believe in the sanctity of the United States Constitution and our access to equal rights as a people. He goes on to say, "Such labeling tends to make people who have grown leery of federal government overreach become suspicious of whether their big brother government anticipates certain states may start another civil war or be overtaken by foreign radical Islamist elements which have been reported to be just across our border." Please leave that up for a second because there's like 6 different crazy things there. He says that at the same time, you should be terrified of the federal government's military forces and Islamists who are going to invade from Mexico. You should be worried about both of those things. But he also says, if you analyze the language in the first part of that sentence, he says, such labeling makes suspicious people become suspicious of the big brother government, where he tries to make you suspicious of them. It's like this, it's this machine of insanity and paranoia that he just keeps feeding quarters into. And unfortunately, it's working. We see the numbers here. Those, especially those living in Texas, but around the country, they're willing to accept this insanity because their elected representatives are going on the news and the media every day and spouting it off.
And they have the #1 news channel on cable is also, not doing a lot to put this fire out.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
we have Sean Hannity, who's continually bringing experts on to say how they should be worried about this.
So here's what I think is interesting about this, because it keeps what I've been saying since Barack Obama got elected, is that why do they keep long-form birth certificate? He's going to invade Texas. He's a Muslim. He's from Kenya. Why do they do that? Why don't they just, if he's really as bad as they say he is, Barack Obama, why don't you just criticize the stuff that he's actually doing? Why do you have to make up stuff like this? Like he's going to invade Texas. So why do you have to keep doing this to keep your base shitting their pants? And the reason is because the stuff that Barack Obama is doing that they should criticize him for is the stuff they're in bed with him with. The military.
I thought you were going to say shortly that he was not doing that many bad things, and then I realized, no.
No. The stuff that he's doing that's bad, they're all for. The TPP deal, the Republicans, yes, fuck over our own workers.
Yes.
Screw Americans. Screw the workers in America, because rich people will be able to exploit poorer people in other countries, which is a win for Jesus.
Yeah.
Also, why don't they criticize his banking policies? They're all for it. They don't criticize any of the things. We've bombed 7 different Muslim countries since 9/11. Nobody's got a problem. They want him to bomb more. So the things that Barack Obama is doing that he should be criticized for, they're all on board for. So they have to invent shit. They had to pretend they didn't like his healthcare plan, which Barack Obama had to reach all the way across the island to the Heritage Foundation to get his healthcare plan. They had to pretend they didn't like it. So that's why they look so foolish, because the stuff that Barack Obama is doing is the stuff that they're on board for.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. And look, I know that liberals, we're not immune from sort of these speculations about politicians' backgrounds. I think that I'm trying to come up with examples for George Bush about the theories about what he had done in his past, but those largely turned out, I think, to be mostly true.
Yeah, that he
we
didn't
attacked
serve.
him for the
He didn't
avoiding
serve what he said he did. He was in the champagne.
Yeah. So I would argue that the difference is that those were largely true, and also we did criticize him specifically for his policies. Like, we can attack him on going to war in Iraq, and then we can attack Obama's continuation of those wars and have some intellectual consistency there that they are unwilling to match us on.
I didn't attack George Bush for playing golf.
Yeah.
Or taking too many days off at the ranch. I didn't like that,
but
these are not. And the more days off, the better. As far as where George Bush was concerned, that's how I feel. Take the whole rest of your term off. I don't give a shit. So
some peace.
There was plenty of stuff when we criticized George Bush. It was about stuff that actually was happening,
policies,
things that were going on. Fear works for everybody. That's why politicians always push that button. But it seems the more fundamentalist you are religiously, the more fear plays a part of your worldview.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand that any conservatives watching this are going to be like, well, that's not fair. I could say the same thing about you guys.
No.
But if you look into the actual psychological research that's been done, there does tend to be a correlation between more anxiety, less ability to differentiate between shades of gray, more need for certainty, you can't tolerate ambiguity. Those things are correlated with conservatism. And that doesn't mean that being a conservative makes you that way, but it might be that if you are that way, you will find conservative policies to be... they'll make you feel better, I guess.
Yeah,
because you're worried about the things you see in the world, and you need some security, and simple-minded policies tend to make you feel secure.
And it's so funny that they always also rail against the nanny state, yet they want a daddy to take care of them. They'll give all their freedom away. If you're going to get you're going to drone bomb somebody without giving him the due process? Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like Big Brother, but they do like Big Daddy.